This is the photo that is most often presented having to do with the Seattle fire. Bunch of wood buildings. Remember, that's the story. Wood buildings burned down. Okay, what did we see? A lot of old stone and brick buildings, but this is what we're most often shown is the poor, hapless public being beset by fire. Here it is again. Fire department said to have been overwhelmed, stood down, and then this is the aftermath. Ruins of stone and brick and buildings that are just blown to smithereens. Now, how does fire do this to a building? How does a fire just pulverize and turn to not even just rubble, but pulverize brick and stone like this? I'm asking. If you have a good idea, leave a comment, please. I'd like to get to the bottom of this. Remember our Occidental Hotel? Where did it go? Where did it go? Gone. Just like vaporized. And I love this collage, and I wish I could credit whoever made it, because it really brings out the sense of memory, right? Always the creepy dudes in their top hats posing in these fire aftermath photos. You see this again and again. But this is the corner of that Occidental Hotel, that glorious old world building with all of its exquisite, marvelous detail, craftsmanship, stonework, which is now a parking garage. It's just the mockery of downtown Seattle, and the mockery of all that is true and just and beautiful. Occidental Hotel, again. Now, this I find interesting, and I said we were going to go at this with a bit of a forensic lens. Here it is after the fire, right? Strange dudes posing, always posing like they've just like shot a rhinoceros or something. But you got the spire, and it reminds me of spire from after 9/11 that just vanished into the ether. But here we have a brick and stone spire, right? I'm just showing this again to evidence, to really emphasize, when I say gone and pulverized and vaporized, I mean it. Where is the building? Because here, spires are gone. Look at how much brick. Look at how thick these walls are. This is not brick clad. These are feet thick of brick upon brick upon brick, building up this base. You have to blow this up. So in the earlier photo, this dude's posing like these weirdos back here. The spires are there, and now they're not. Okay, so now we have a pile of rubble. Okay, they got to clear the fire debris. I get it. So they blew it up. They set some dynamite, and they got the spire down. They probably set more dynamite. They didn't have backhoes, not like, they might have had steam shovels. There's a lot of dynamite, a lot of force it takes. And look, this got sheared off. That telephone pole was still there in the earlier photo, and here it's sheared off. It's gone. So whatever they used to blow up this portion must have taken that off with it. So I have to ask the question. When we hear about these urban fires, and I've looked into them, oftentimes what you hear is the fires raging out of control, and in order to save one part of the city, they'll go in and blow up certain buildings to make a fire break. And you hear this in, when it comes to forest fires as well. They'll make a fire break, fight fire with fire. And then you read that, well, they tried it, they had the best of intentions, but maybe they made things a little worse. Maybe they spread the fire, but they were trying. Is there a point at which we have to just hit the pause on all that and ask the hard question? Were they actually blowing up the city on purpose? Now, if those buildings that we saw or this building here, the Occidental Hotel, if that was already here and they didn't build it, these settlers, they might not have had the same level of pride of ownership in it, right? They might have seen it as an obstruction to a grander plan, a modern iteration of civilization that they intended to roll out. Out with the old, it's called progress, you know? It's hard to put in infrastructure when you got old buildings in the way. But also think about the fact that, or the apparent fact that it's so often the downtown, the business district that burns up in these urban fires. And why the business? Oh, well, that's where they keep the records, right? Who owns what? You didn't have digital files that existed in the cloud. You had file cabinets. You had court documents. You had permits. You had plat maps, right? But if a bigger fish comes to town and wants to own all that, or change it, or rearrange it in their image, or somebody has, a bigger fish has a bigger plan than your hat shop on the corner or your hotel, well, it's got to go. So are we looking at the biggest crime scene in American history, the memory of which has been wiped from our consciousness? Is this part of why most people can't remember who their great-grandparents were, or at most, can follow their family tree back 3-4 generations? Just asking. I don't see wood buildings. Frankly, I'm starting to get a little offended at the idea of that. Some people consider themselves empaths, right? They pick up on the energy of other people really easily, and they have to be careful who they interact with because they can take on their mood. Well, I'm kind of like a building empath. I've been working all my life, ever since I was a kid, on remodeling old spaces, remodeling old houses, renovating, refurbishing, renewing. You put a lot of yourself into a remodel project. And sometimes you can pick up on the energy that was there before as you're breathing new life into space. And I used to really pride myself on that, being able to breathe life into a new space, but it took a lot out of me. And, maybe some of it's like epigenetic as well, where my ancestors were builders. I don't know. But I do know that when I look at these photos, I think about all the work that went into this, regardless of the timeline, all of the labor power, the human ingenuity, and the energy, the time away from family, the effort, the creativity, just the whole process of building is awesome. The pride of craftsmanship, there's nothing like it. When you sculpt something in 3D reality that is not just beautiful, but inhabitable and functional and safe and warm and protective and uplifting, and then just to have it obliterated for base interests because highway plan, because newer, better ways of doing things. Maybe newer isn't better. Maybe this grid system that they laid out in the wake of the fire was not better. Maybe it's just a trap. Maybe it's always been a trap. Now we'll close out that section on Seattle fire with this lovely bird's eye view map. Seattle in 1889. Now I had 1890 population of 40,000. This is shown 1889 population of 33,000. 33,000 people. And I love this map because this purportedly was drawn up, sponsored by a mining and real estate company. Okay? Prepared especially by Llewellyn Dodge & Co., mining and real estate brokers. This is Seattle before the Great Fire, immediately before, because this is in 1889. Okay? All of this. This is all of this. This is it. Just the downtown and this part of the wharf. Okay? There's another map that will show a line here. but that's what was lost. And I said in my last video that it was 26 acres, and I was way off by a factor of 5. I misremembered. It was more like 125 acres. 125 acres of buildings just pulverized. There looks like that's our Occidental building. That looks like this is our Yesler and Leary building. Okay? And what I love is that they took the time, in a sense, almost to memorialize these buildings. Okay? Look at all these lovely brick and stone buildings. Here is Hotel Denny. This one didn't die to the fire, but it died to the regrade. Here's Pioneer Square. The Pioneer building that Yesler built, supposedly before he died, with its tower still intact. Now, wait a minute though, because the narrative I read, the Yesler building was built after the fire. And I've read that in several places. The Yesler building foundation was started, so it is said, before the fire, but to its saving grace, wasn't built until after the fire and the rubble was cleared. But there it is. I'm not making it up. It's on this map, sponsored by the real estate brokers, pre-fire, 1889. I guess boosterism only goes so far in determining truth in history. All of these beautiful, ornate brick buildings in old world Seattle. The Fry Opera House. Incredible. It's just incredible. And this building I haven't even seen before. This is the Llewellyn Dodge building. Well, no wonder they drew themselves a nice map. That's lovely. That's a nice building. Hope they left the tower alone. Guarantee loan and trust. I mean, spare no detail. So, just real quick here, Ellensburg. I happen to be going through Ellensburg. I happen to just absolutely, literally, coincidentally, happen to find their town museum. I walked in and the first thing I see is a display about their fire, July 10th. This is a month and a few days after Seattle's. Okay? And again, the same story, except this one was suspected arson, but they really don't know, and it's a mystery. They're still trying to solve the mystery. But wooden buildings, no fire codes, but the pictures tell quite a different story altogether, right? Who done it? Who done it? They don't know. They still don't know. They suspect an act of arson. Thank you for sticking with me. Those who have made it this far, I hope that you've gotten something out of this. I feel like in some respects it's just scratching the surface, because I feel like this is a story that repeats over and over and over again in cities across the country. So it really raises questions in my mind about who we are, where we come from, what our real history is, what our real legacy is, what our story is, what was taken from us. So I'm raising those questions. Who built old Seattle? How did they build it? When did they build it? It's worth looking into. Because if we don't, we will keep being reset upon. And if there's anything that I've learned in these last 3 years, it's that resets happen, whether we like it or not. We're constantly being conditioned to expect the worst. We're constantly being demoralized. We're constantly being kept in a state of fear. And I resent that the children, and I'm thinking about my children, have to be confronted with this over and over and over again. So by looking into this past, I think that we can reclaim something that we had, something that we knew, something that was perhaps a little more intuitive and a lot more aligned with divinity.
They used to tell me I was building a dream,